Good evening, everyone. I pray that everyone has had a wonderful day and everything is going well. As you can see my background. Let me just switch screens, see who I got on here. Hi, Sister Marilyn. How are you doing on this evening? So let's see. Again, thank you for joining us this evening for Renew, Restore, Rebuild, and Restore. This is our devotional we're doing for the month of October. Just praying on to do a renewal, a rebuild, and a restoration of our soul, of ourselves with prayer. And tonight's topic is renew a steadfast spirit within me. And so we are going to be coming from Psalms, the 51st chapter, and the 10th verse. And I'm actually going to pull that particular scripture up on screen on this evening so that we can read along. These particular devotionals is just one main focus scripture. So we are going to read it all together at the same time. And it reads as such. Psalms 51 and 10 from the King James Version. And it reads, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew the right spirit within me. Again, create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Hello, Sister Maria. How are you doing on this evening? So, this is a particular great topic to understand what it means to be renewed and restored with the spirit within you. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the word steadfast and actually what that means. Now, steadfast by definition, according to Merriam-Webster, is an adjective. And it is two definitions. The first one is firmly placed in, meaning immovable and not subject to change. It also, the second definition is a firm belief, firm in belief, determinations, or adherence, meaning loyal. Basically, it's constant. It means constant, dedicated, devoted, devout, faithful, loyal, staunch, steady. So it basically what this particular topic is renew a spirit in me that is unmovable, that is going to do what your will is and no one else's. So I'm not, trying to flip-flop about the things that I should and couldn't, wouldn't do. So if anyone knows about John Newton was around in about the 17th century, and he lived in England. Although he was taught about Christian discipline early in his childhood by his mother, he became a rebellious young man following the death of his mother. And, he learned sailing skills from his father. And although his stubborn nature usually leads him to always getting punished, of course, when he was, on the ship, he was able to serve as the ship's captain. Now, one night, as he was steering against an enormous storm, at that moment, he experienced the mercy of God that saved his life and the ship. And in that moment, he started to realize how the grace of God has led his life. After that experience, he became a preacher in England with a renewed spirit, and he wrote the popular hymn, Amazing Grace. Now, if you know this hymn is used in many churches and the U.S. military to this day. Now, when we think about 2 Samuel, the 11th chapter, and we see that King David basically had kind of, craftily was able to kill Uriah, who was a faithful soldier in David's army. And what basically David did is he took Uriah's wife by misusing his power. He wanted her. So therefore, he did things that he shouldn't have done so that he can make sure that he got her, And David's actions displeased God. Now, mind you, as I look, read through Samuel and Psalms, when you look at David, David was a man after God's own heart, but it doesn't mean that he didn't do things that displeased God or upset God, or he wasn't chastised. But it was always his willingness to repent and, get back into the right mind and to remember who he was and whose he was, so that he was able to do what was necessary. So trust me, don't ever get it twisted that, God is only going to use perfect people. He used imperfect people to complete the most perfect task. Now, in order to rectify this act, God sent Nathan, the prophet, to express the Lord's thoughts to King David. Now, on hearing the Lord through Nathan, David recognized he had sinned against the Lord. Now, you can reference this in 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter and the 13th verse. And I'm actually going to put that on the screen so that you guys can see that. So it's that second, let me pull it up. Let me just type it up and put it on the screen so that you can see that and reference it. It's 2 Samuel, the 12th chapter and the 13th verse. And, this is when, Nathan is talking to David. And see, when David realized that it was him he was talking about, David begged for God's mercy, and he felt that the presence of God had left him. He repented for what he did. He cried, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." Have you ever been in a situation where you've done something wrong, but you feel that, you might have got away with it, but then you feel empty? And then you feel like kind of alone, and it feels like, there's nothing around. That is usually when God has left the scene, because contrary to popular belief, he doesn't dwell in that mess and that craziness. The minute you decide to go there, the minute you decide that you're going to put all of that and fill yourself with that, he is leaving. You've pushed him out. So therefore, you do feel an emptiness, and you've done wrong. But, sometimes it does take someone to bring that to your remembrance and to help you, to the path of reconciliation with God. Now, David's predecessor, Saul, also disobeyed God. See, the prophet Samuel was sent by God to tell him of his disobedience. Now, King Saul recognized his disobedience. However, in the latter part of his life, he did not allow God to renew his heart and did not have the realization of God's mercy. And so I'm also going to put up that scenario that was that comes out of 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, the 22nd and the 24th verse. And I just want you guys to reference that so you can take the notes down. So that's 1 Samuel 15, 22, 24. And this is also when King Saul had disobeyed God. And even though he recognized it, what he did not do is he did not allow the renewing of the heart. And so he was kind of just was like, yeah, I did it. So what? Even though, and sometimes we do that, we'll recognize, somebody will bring it to our attention and we'll recognize we've done it. But because of our pride, sometimes we will just be like, whatever. And therefore it puts us in a bind, because God's just like, oh, so you just think you just untouchable, and he can't use you with that. Now, again, his glory is going to be uplifted, in spite of it, but he wants you to be the one to walk in your purpose. Now, if we look in Psalms 51, we can easily understand how deeply, King David repented for his sin and asked God to change his heart, because he knew that God will not reject, that God will reject a broken and contrite heart. See, King David could not step forward in his spiritual relationship with God without fixing the convicted sin in his life. And see, as children of God, we need to examine our spiritual life, to check where we've disobeyed God and displeased him. See, our God is so compassionate, and he's always ready to listen, to prayers that come from an honest heart, and he surely will renew your heart. But you can't, do something wrong or be in error and think that I don't have to fix this. I don't have to do anything about this. I'm good. I can just sit back and chill and do whatever I want to do. And so we wonder, I know I always use men as example. I know there was a period in my life where I knew I was doing wrong, but I didn't care. And it wasn't that I was, had turned God off all the way off or anything like that, but I still hadn't gone through the healing process that was necessary to get to a certain point. And I was fighting it all the way. And there will be times where I'll be praying to God and then be wondering, why aren't you answering my prayers? Why aren't you hearing me? Why aren't you communicating with me? And the reason he wasn't is because there was a big chunk of sin that I had done, that I had recognized, but I did not really truly repent for and ask him for forgiveness and ask him to remove that and renew my heart so that we can continue on our relationship. Have you ever had that best friend that you've possibly done wrong or that you did do wrong, and you wonder why that you guys aren't good like you used to? Because you're not willing to admit that you made a mistake or that it was your fault. You always, you know how we be sometimes. We always want to be the ones in the know and the ones that are right, and we didn't do anything wrong, but your relationship suffers. And you can't move forward in the relationship until you've repented and until you've asked for forgiveness and until you have asked to renew that heart so that those things can't be done again. But what I do love about God is that once he forgives you, he does forget about it, but you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, thinking that there's not going to be any consequences to that. That is exactly not how that works. So when we're talking about to renew a steadfast spirit, we want our spirit to be so, intact and so, steadfast and so loyal and so faithful that things can't get into it and things can't move and things can't move us. Situations can't stray us. And again, life happens. It absolutely does. It doesn't mean that you're never going to make a mistake. It doesn't mean that you're never going to do something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're never going to displease God. That is the key thought right there. There's things that's going to happen in life where God is not going to be pleased with you. But you can't stay there. You can't say that I'm just going to sit here because, okay, I've already made one mistake. I might as well go out with a bang. You don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. I've been down that road. It's not fun. And it's a very lonely road to go down. Very lonely. Because not only do you alienate people that are around you, that God has placed around you, you alienate yourself from God. And so the enemy uses that to just really get all in your head and be like, see, you wasn't all that to begin with. You thought he really wanted you. You thought you was the best. You see how he threw you away. And see, God didn't throw us away. We chose to remove ourselves out of his loving hands because we wanted to do what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. It wasn't that, he removed himself. We removed him. We removed him. Anytime we do something that doesn't line up with the word, we remove God from our lives. Point is, that's what it is. So what we have to do is when we make that mistake, we have to be quick to correct it and to reconcile it so that God can be still in there to be working on us because we're a work in progress. And yes, and again, this walk, this salvation, none of this is a one and done deal. This is a daily, continual journey. It is minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour, day by day, that you're constantly asking God to strengthen you, to guard your heart, to guard your mind, to renew your spirit, to constantly seek him, to meditate on him. and to seek him to build you up to what he needs you to be. It is a daily process. There's no such thing as one and done when it comes to, God and salvation and living in our purpose. It's not a one and done deal. Now the enemy can make you think like, oh, you should have been done by now. Oh, you should have that position by now. You should be leading that. They shouldn't be leading that. You have to understand that God doesn't operate in confusion. He doesn't operate in drama. He doesn't operate in condemnation. So anytime you have those ideas swirling around in your head, you need to put them back where they belong. And that is with the enemy, because you should know without a shadow of a doubt, God doesn't operate like that. So many of us are like David. We'll get there, we'll do whatever, and then we'll slip up. But it wasn't like, if you look at David, it wasn't the same mistakes. Like, he made mistakes, but it wasn't, completing the same things over and over and over again. Because I know for me, like, if my child, and I don't have any yet, but if we said we were sorry for hurting someone's feelings, and then an hour later we hurt that person's feelings again, and we keep coming back and saying we're sorry, then our word doesn't mean anything. And then that happens with God. Like, he is a loving and forgiving God, but there's a limit. There's a limit for taking his kindness and his grace for weakness. There's a limit for abusing that, loving kindness and that grace. And we still, as believers, have to understand that. We have to understand that we just don't have carte blanche to just continually screw up and do whatever we want to do and then come back as if nothing happens. You can't keep doing that. So you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice in your heart and in your mind and in your soul that you are going to follow him no matter what. Even when you fall, even when you step back, you're still going to follow him. Even when things get tough, you're still going to follow him. Even when it looks bleary and bleak, you're still going to follow him. Even when you think you've committed the biggest mistake or the biggest crime or whatever possible, you're still going to follow him, because he's the only one that can truly save you. He's the only one that can truly forgive you. He's the only one that can put you in places that you need to be where you didn't think you belonged. He is the only one. No one else can do it. Now, they may try. Trust me, they may try. I know plenty of them, they will. They'll think it's all good and they'll try. The enemy will even try to make you believe that he's able to do that, but he is not. Don't care what he says. He can not. Not at all. So be like David and seek God for reconciliation, to renew, your strength, to create in you a clean heart, because he can only do it. Renew your spirit so that he can do all the things that he has for you and so much more. God is amazing. And even when we think we don't deserve, even when we think we're not supposed to have, he always got our back for anything that he has for us. So I want to thank you for joining us this evening for Renew, Rebuild, and Restore. Renew a steadfast spirit within me. It's been, of course, this is going to be an awesome devotional for the next few weeks. If you're not in the group with us and you're on Facebook, you can find us at YB Daily Devotionals. That's Y as in yellow, V as in Victor, Daily Devotionals. Again, all of our content is there, all of our videos there. We have bonus content. So definitely come and join the family and get all of the goodies and all of that lovely stuff there we have. Also, if you have any prayer requests or praise reports, definitely, drop them in the comments. myself and Minister Peter are praying for you guys on a continual basis on each and every day. But you may have a specific prayer request that you're asking for. So definitely go ahead and reach out to us with that so that we can be in prayer with you and for you. Also, if you have a praise report, definitely let us know what that is so that we can continue to celebrate God with you in the things that He has done in your life. Now, tomorrow we'll be back here at 8:15. Tomorrow's Thursday, so you know that's where our little time change is. So be here at 8:15 in this particular location. And we'll be talking about renewed strength on tomorrow. So definitely come on over and join us. Have a wonderfully blessed evening. I love you guys. And again, you know, we enjoy the fact that you allow us to come into your homes each and every evening. And we're grateful for that. And we don't take it lightly. I got a comment from one of them that's like, it went too fast. Some of these are going to be one of those quick ones, and others are going to be more drawn, longer. Depends on just how God is leading and what He wants us to do. So I know for some it might not have been enough, but that's what He gave me today. But I love you guys. I always pray the best for you guys. So I'm going to see you tomorrow at 8:15 at the same location. Don't be late. I love you guys so very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and be blessed. Good night.